Hello everyone, welcome to the next DBMS video tutorial. So in the last video we have discussed about different examples of queries by using the group by as well as the aggregate functions in it, and we came across what are the mandatory clauses while writing a simple query. In the case of select from, where, group by, then having, then the order by. So when to use what, and in case of when it is required to write a correlated nested queries, and all we discussed in the last video. And next coming topic is all about specifying the constraints as assertions and actions as triggers. So two new topics will be introduced in today's lecture, that is, one is the assertion and another one is the triggers. Now let us first see what are this assertion is. So as you have already seen, the built-in constraints what has been given through the SQL programming, that is might be the data type, the domain what we call as, and the restrictions what we made through the check clause. Okay, so all those are the constraints. There might be your primary key. So all those are the inferred constraints with respect to a given relational model. Now if you want to have additional constraint which can be inferred from the existence of a data, is what we need to look at this assertion. So what I am speaking about right now is the assertion. So asserting, as it says, asserting the new information or verifying some information in the existing state of a database is what is called as asserting. Say for example, I'll give a scenario. I want to know whether the salaries of all the employees is less than the salaries of manager. Of course, we expect that a salary of employee should be less than the manager, and in this case what they have taken is, like for example, of a particular department. So that department's, that employee and the manager of the same department should have less salary. So if this is a kind of constraint, if I want to check with the database, so I need to go with the assertion here. So assertion will do what? It will try to put the additional constraint than the built-in constraint what we have seen, primary key, foreign key, all those constraints. Okay, so first we will go with an example. With the example itself, I will explain how to write a assertion and how to use it and where to use it. Fine, we will see the example. So here I have an example on the board in order to understand what exactly assertion is. So as I said, it is to put up additional constraint which is out of the scope of built-in constraints in the relational model. In order to put additional constraint like this, we need to use assertion. So let me explain what exactly the purpose of writing this assertion in the case what is there on the board right now. I want to do a assertion or assertion checking wherein which the salaries of all the managers should be greater than the salaries of all the employee of each respective department. I am not bothered about an employee of IS department is having a more salary than a manager of a CS department, rather than the case. Only I need to verify what the employees of IS department have all the less salary than the manager or the HOD, whatever it is. Okay, so to verify this kind of stuff, we can write a assertion. So it will verify that currently the database state what you have should be satisfied in this case. If not, it violates the assertion. So let us see how it has been executed or how it has been taken into consideration. The first thing you are supposed to use is the same create table command itself, the create command followed by a keyword assertion. Okay, so this will help you out in telling to the compiler that I am creating an assertion now, that is a constraint, and this constraint should have a name, that is must. Like we have seen in the primary key and foreign key can be given a name, the same way I can give a name for a constraint. Okay, so create assertion salary underscore const is the name I have given to this constraint what I am going to create next. Okay, that is the condition which has to be checked with all the rows. So that is what we need to find out. So for that I have given a name salary underscore const. Next, I have used a check clause, I have used a not exist clause. Already I have explained a check clause separately using in the while writing a create table command itself. Say for example, I want to restrict the department number inserted to a department table between 1 to 20. We have seen that. So there I'll be using that check clause over there, right? So again now this check clause in combination with not exist in order to assert something has been used. So check what is used in the create table command is different than check what is used in assertion here. Let me explain that. So check not exist. So not exist returns true when nothing has been written from the query what you are going to write next to it. Okay. So the not exist expects the star to be nothing. Star indicates all the attributes of what are the table you are selecting, but as a values I should not have anything in case of star. So that is the case where it prints true, then the check clause evaluates to true. Then I can say that the salary constraint has been evaluated properly. Okay. Let us see how the constraint has been taken place here. Now if I am an employee and a manager is also an employee, so both the details are stored in the same table called as employee itself. Of course, yes. But how do you separate between these two? With the help of the aliasing. That is, see, employee number 1 is an employee, employee number 2 is a manager. What happens about 2 now? 2 will be present in department table MGR SSN and 1 is not present in MGR department table. Means what? 1 is not a manager, only 2 is a manager. Okay. Now if 1 and 2 both belongs to the same department number, I need to find out the salaries of employee number 1 is less than the employee number 2. If that is the case, then the assertion holds good. Okay. So but now how do you create the same table assertion again and again? So for that we need to do what? Create a same table but different names. Okay. That is what I have done here from employee employee M. Let me explain that. So we have this employee table, we have SSN, employee name, department number and so and so. So based on that there is one more employee table which is called as M and this is called as E, managers and employees. There are two tables are same actually. What are the values you have here? Same values will be here but in a different row. Let me explain that. So again we have this table here, we have SSN, employee name, department number. Say for example SSN 1, employee name A, department number 10. Employee number 2, employee name B, department number 10. Just an instance I have taken. Okay. Again 1 A 10, 2 B 10. Okay. Then we also have a table called as department where we have this department number, department name and MGR SSN. Okay, and so on. So department number 10, department name as X, MGR SSN as 2, and we also want the salary here, salary. So 1 as 20k, 2 as 30k, 20k, 30k. Okay. So as you can see, it is just a replica of this an employee table. The same employee table is taken twice in different roles. Role we are making it explicitly through the query itself. It is not actually the two tables present in the same name. No, only one table, but we are taking the two copies of it while performing the query operations. Okay. So employee as E, employee as M. Next we have this department table with one particular instance. Now let us understand how this query executes. Okay. So select star from employee E, employee M and department D. Okay. Now, so in this case as you can see here, employee as E, employee as M and department as D, where E dot salary, employee dot salary is greater than M dot salary. Verify the two salaries when E dot department number equal to D dot department number. If the two instances of employee and manager, if they have a same department number and it should be a manager. Okay. For example, I will take this first particular row 1, okay, department number 10, join with the department table, department number is present here, as it is present. Okay. Then whether 1 is a manager, no, need not verify. Clear? Next, I will go for 2 department number is 10, again it is matched with department table, it is merged. Okay. When 10 is being seen, next is a manager. Who is a manager of it? 2 is a manager. Yes. 2 is also present here. 10 is also present in the foreign key table. Next what? When there is 2 and 2, look at its salary. Okay. 2 salary is how much? 30k. Now whether the 30k is less than, okay, the salary of an employee who is working in the same department number. You see that? E dot salary is greater than M dot salary. The employee salary of right now, which department number we are pointing? Department number 10. Department number 10, there are 2 employees, as we have only taken 2 instances here. The salaries of an employee, that is 20k, whether it is greater than 30. So of course it will be false. Okay. So that says that employee salary is not more than the manager's salary. So this is what the joining condition is. E dot department number equal to D dot department number. Means the condition says that only for the employees who are working in the same department check the salaries of employee and the managers. As I mentioned initially, it's not about employee of one department, its salary is being compared with the manager of other department. No, should be of same department. That is what we are doing here, where department number should be same and the he should be a manager of a employee, where the employee ID we have taken no 2. He should be a manager in that case. If that is the case, then I look for a salary in all the rows. So this will be compared with this, this will be compared with this. So hence it says that once the condition is evaluated, it prints false, because the salary of employee in this instance is not greater than the salary of a manager. So when this condition evaluates to false, what does it selected in star? Nothing is selected. It indicates what when nothing is selected, not exist prints true. When it prints true, what do you mean by that? The condition of assertion was evaluated and no such row found that wherein which the salary of an employee is less than the, salary of an employee is greater than the salary of a manager. Okay, the vice versa. That is what the condition we need to put up. Now, so this is what actually our assertion is. Now, just think of in different instances where you can write this assertion. Say for example, you might give a condition wherein which if a person automatically the biometric what we put up in any of the organization, if the login time is above 8:30 or above 8:35, so automatically you need to be put up half day CL, something like that if you want to code it. So on that case, what you can do is you can take 2 tables, that is the biometric table and the employee table, check with the employee ID and the biometric ID, with the employee ID is being stored as a foreign key, and check with the time. If time is greater than 8:30, then do what? Evaluate that assertion that this person as that in that case star indicates what? One row selected saying that yes, this person in this month has this many days more than 8:30. So it violates assertion. It not satisfies us. Okay. So likewise we can assert anything. So I have a 1 month of data as I mentioned, and I want to find out how many of them have paid their interest within the date, and I mean, like for example, if I say 10th is the date where the loan has to be paid, and if someone is paying on 11th and 12th, I need to find out how many of them paid about 10th, after 10th, sorry. So on that case, what we can do is we can run an assertion and we'll come to know. If this assertion evaluates and it prints something, then not exist becomes what? False. Automatically what? It says that in a given month there are n number of people who have violated this assertion, we need to verify it. So this is how we can use the constraint of assertion in order to evaluate it. Now, as I said initially that there is a small difference between using a check constraint separately or any other domain constraint separately and writing an assertion. Let me tell that what actually happens is whenever I write a check constraint in the create table command, you might be seeing that video where I have explained how to write a check only for create table command, create table department number int check, where department number is less than 10 between whatever you can write the constraint. So whenever you write just a check clause without assertion, that check is evaluated after each insertion, after each updation or whatever whenever you modify the database state, the check constraint will be evaluated. Same way case of your domain also. When you give a domain constraint saying of a data type might be or a integrity constraint, primary key constraint, or a foreign key constraint. All those constraints are evaluated after each modification, might be an insertion or a updation. But when it comes to the assertion, it's all about running on a database state, not on each insertion. That is what the main difference is, you need to understand. So assertion are the constraints which are not in the scope of the built-in relational model, but it should be inferred additionally by writing a routine. As you can see, a condition being written here, and you need to evaluate it. Okay, so that is the case where assertion is not for each row after each insertion or each updation. It should be run manually by the person who are expecting some additional constraint which has to be inferred on the database, current database state. So that is what is assertion is. So this is the difference between a check or a domain used separately or a check and domain used with assertion in this case. See, I have used check, but it doesn't execute for each row. Because it is an assertion, whenever I call, say run salary constraint on table called as employee, and when I am running that, so automatically, sorry, on the college database, when I am running that, automatically it will take these three tables and perform a copycat of the same table. One has the role of employee, other the role of manager, and look at the salaries. So in this case, he is an employee, one is an employee and 2 is a manager. Salary of an employee 20k is less than 30k, it is compared like this. Okay, and these two are not compared because 2 and 1. In this case, 2 is an employee, he is an employee, but he is not a manager. 2 is not present in this case. Okay, 1 is not a manager because 1 is not present in the manager table, but 2 is a manager. So this two, the second row, first row of this and the second row of this will be compared to find out the result, because department number has to match. Okay, hope I have made this assertion concept is clear. So anyway, you can write any type of assertion whenever is expected. Make sure you are going to use a not exist or a exist and a check condition, and a constraint name is must. And you can have any type of condition as a query written inside the not exist or the exist. Okay, so next we will see something called as triggers. Now what are these triggers? See, triggers are called as sometimes they call it as detective rules. Say call whenever you want to perform some additional condition evaluation based on some action to be taken. Okay, say for example in industries, say for example after there will be a boiling happening of some solution or whatever it is. So after a certain degree of boiling temperature, I want to blow a whistle, or I want to instruct to a person who is in charge of it by making a loud sound, something like that. So what is there now? I have put a constraint, not a constraint, I have put a condition that once the boiling temperature is more than 100 degrees Celsius, blow a whistle. So blowing a whistle is the action. Okay, so there is a condition and there is an event and there is an action being taken. So this is what actually a trigger is. Okay, as the name says, triggers something. So based on some operation, based on some condition evaluation, if something goes wrong, if something happens based on our condition, then do what? Do some action. Some action is what? It might be a printing a message or calling some other routine, calling a store procedure, so and so stuff, or calling one more program. It might be anything. So all those comes in the triggers. Let us go with some basic syntax of triggers, then I will go with some examples of it also. Okay, so triggers are very, very important in case of your mini project too. You need to have a trigger being written in your backend so that it will be evaluated whenever you perform some operations on the database state. Okay, let's see that. It's quite different from assertion. Assertion is a constraint, whereas in case of your triggers are what? It's a condition evaluation based on some condition, what actions to be taken or be decided here. Okay, here we have this generalized syntax of trigger, what it looks like. So now as I mentioned, a trigger is where in which we need to look for some condition to be evaluated based on some event occurs, then the condition evaluates, event in the sense some action to be taken place. Once the event occurs, then the condition evaluates, based on the condition some action has to be taken place. Okay, so trigger has 3 modules as I said. First the event, we are looking for some event to happen, that it might be an insert operation or delete or update operation. Based on the event, I look for some condition to be evaluated. Okay, if based on that condition evaluates to true or false, I will be deciding on some action. Okay, an action can be just displaying a message, okay, or calling some other procedure, or calling another query inside it itself. So it can be anything. Okay, we will see one example of how to write a triggers. Before going to that, first we need to generalize syntax. So generalized syntax is very important with respect to exam. They will be asking if in case of they ask for a trigger with a problem statement, you need to formulate a trigger, but normally they ask for a generalized syntax and the modules of it, the different components of a trigger. At that time you are supposed to write this complete picture and explain about it. Okay, so first of all, create trigger is a syntax, the keyword being used, followed by a trigger name. You can give any name, as if he seen in assertion salary constraint, you can have any name like that for trigger also. Next we have something called as after or before. What is this after or before? Followed by a trigger event. Okay, so whereas a trigger event is a insert, a delete, a update of a column name. Onto which column? Now this will be replaced in this this tag. I have just written below this. This is only what we have in case of syntax of triggers. This is what is replaced here. Now what is this after and before is after insert or after delete or after update, or it might be before insert, before delete or before update. You can have the combinations of this here by separating it with or. Okay, so either after or the before you need to perform this triggering event. Okay, say for example, I want to after inserting a row to a database, I want this condition to be evaluated. Okay, now I want to insert a row. Before inserting only I need to evaluate that row, whether the row will be satisfying the condition. Say for example, the condition is the supervisors, you know, right, employees are also having a supervisor. Supervisee and supervisor is also a relationship which is called as recursive relation, which we already learnt in this company database, where in which employee table is mapped twice, once in the role of employee, once in the role of supervisors. It was a supervisor SSN, super SSN was present in employee table. Now if that is the case where I want to insert a row and if I am expecting the salaries of supervisor should be less than the salaries of an employee, so whenever I am inserting, I need to be ensure whom I am giving a supervisor for that employee, his salary should be greater than its supervisee, the subordinate. Okay, so in order to perform this type of evaluation, because they are not inferred, because after some operations they are being checked. Okay, so assertion are purely different from triggers. Like as it sounds, triggers are evaluated once in one shot for the whole database, but in case of your triggers are on each activity or the activity what you have planned, that has to be planned properly. Based on that planned activity, the conditions will be activated. Based on the output of a condition, some action has to be taken. Okay, so after or before triggering event, any one of this, or you can have a combination of this. So then on the table, first off the column name, on the table name. First the columns what you want to apply the condition and on which table you want to apply the condition. On the table name, when condition, the next is condition. When this is happening, then evaluate this condition. If this condition evaluates to true, then trigger a action, then perform a alternative action. So as I said, action can be calling any other PLSQL block or calling a stored procedure, okay, and or just printing a message. So it might be anything, any operations which can be performed by action. So this is the generalized, not generalized, the complete syntax of triggers. Okay, also called as active rules, where in which you write some rules. That rules as a constraint need to be satisfied whenever you are performing a deletion or a updation or the insertion. Means you need to tell that whether this operation should be checked before inserting or after inserting, before deletion or after deletion, that will be decided by this. So after or before. So this is the syntax of a trigger. Okay, now we will see an example of trigger, how it looks like. Now we have an example of the trigger being written here. So as I mentioned, there is an employee table in which we have employees as well as supervisors, both been having a same map to same table. So as you can see here, in this we have this employee table, SSN, ename, salary and super SSN. These are the values of this itself, SSN itself, but it's a foreign key which refers to the same table. Okay, it's a recursive relation. But what does the super SSN mention? Who is the supervisor of whom? Say for example, there might be some professors, associate professors, then assistant professors, likewise. So like HOD is the supervise and we are the supervisor and we are the supervisees, that is boss as well as subordinates. So 1 is being supervised by 2, 2 is being supervised by 3, as well as 3 is being supervised by 2. So 2 is supervising both 1 and 3. Now what is the constraint I need to put is, say for example, I want to insert a new row now. Okay, say for example, 4, the data I want to fill is SSN is 4, e name is D. Okay, is this okay? Not visible. I want to insert 4 D and salary as 25k, and I want to make employee 3 as a supervisor for him, because I need to put the existing values, right? So this is what I'll be expecting to put in as a row to this table. Now what I want to do is, before insert I want to check. What I want to check right now, which are the row you are inserting, okay, that particular new employee whose SSN is 4 as a salary. Now I need to check the salaries of what employee you are inserting, whether it is greater than or lesser than, okay, whom you are making him as supervisor. Whom I am making supervisor for 4? 3. Now I need to extract the salary of 3 from this table and verify whether the salary is less or greater. Only if less I need to perform the insertion, because this employee is a subordinate, he should have less salary than its boss. Okay, so this is what I need to check now. Before inserting this row into this table, I need to verify. Let's see how it is to be done by using a trigger. Okay, so as I said, create trigger. It has a name, salary violation. Before insert, just see this, before inserting, right now I'll type a command, insert into table name. What table name? Employee. Insert what? 4D, 25 and 3. Now when I am doing this insertion process, before inserting physically to the backend database, I need to evaluate this. Let's see how it has to be evaluated. So before insert or update, both are possible. Before inserting or updating any of the existing values to a different value, the before updation I need to verify this condition. Either for new row insertion or the existing updation, I need to verify the salaries. Okay, or update. So I can have multiple triggering event here of which attributes? Salary comma super SSN. Okay, of which attributes? Salary and super SSN has to be verified now. Okay, on which table? EMP, employee table, on employee. Now this is a keyword has to be used for each row. For each row I need to verify this. Right now what I am going to insert, I need to verify that for each row. For each row, when. So this is your triggering event. Okay, now the action. First the event, then the action. What is action? When new dot salary. Now there are two keywords being used while performing this triggering, students. That is, one is the new, other one is the old. Because see, when I am inserting a new row, this one, what are the attribute names for this? It will be same thing, right? It will be SSN, ename, salary and super SSN. It will be the same as existing one. But when I want to verify these values, I require a reference, no? So this attribute values to be referred with this attribute value, something like that. To do that, what we have this, we use this old and new keyword, which is be understood by the compiler, saying old mentioned to be the existing table and its values. So if I say old.ssn or just SSN, it is the existing one. Okay, when I say new SSN or new.ssn, it is the one which I am right now inserting or one which I am right now updating. It is to be mentioned with that new keyword. Okay, so right now new dot salary is how much? This one, that is 25k. Okay, now 25k is greater than, I am checking greater than. Okay, select salary. So I have not specified anything. So when I want to specify anything, it is what? The existing one. I want the existing salary of whom? From employee, from the employee table, where SSN equals new dot super SSN. Whose SSN I need to fetch? Whom is matched with new super SSN. What is the new super SSN we have here? 3. New keyword is being used, the one I am going to insert now, 3. So is the 3 is present in SSN? Yes, 3 is already present in SSN, only the existing one I am supposed to give. When 3 is present, what is the salaries of 3? 22. So 22 is been selected, 22k is selected. Hope you all got it. I will repeat again. Select salary from employee where SSN equal to new dot super SSN. Right now new dot super SSN is 3. The 3 is present in SSN, of course it has to be present, and I am going to take the salaries of it. So select salaries of the matching condition. So 3 is matched with 3, salary has been taken off 3. Okay. Now what, see, and the condition has been closed. Now this is the condition. Now the condition evaluates to true or false. 25k is greater than 22s. Means what? The salary of an employee right now, what you are inserting, salary of an employee, the 4 has to be inserted here, but 4 as a supervisor who has a salary less than him, because he has more salary. 25k is more than 22k. Then what happen? If this condition evaluates to true, then do what? Perform a action. Event, condition, action. What is action I am going to take? I am going to call a function now, or a procedure. The procedure name is what? Inform underscore supervisor is the name of a function by passing 2 parameters, that is new dot super SSN comma new dot SSN. What is new dot super SSN? 3 comma 4 I am going to pass, and there are some routine written here to verify whether it has to be inserted or not. So this way you can restrict the insertion operation or update operation based on some condition. Okay. So what and all you need to understand from this is, first thing is how to choose the name. Name can be anything, salary violation followed by a either before or after. Okay. So insert, you can have the combinations of it, insert, update or delete, all 3 are possible. So insert or update of salary and super, the column names where you want to verify it. Next, the table name, on which table, then for each row. This is the keyword has to be used for must. This indicates that this condition what I am going to put should be evaluated whenever we insert a new row to this table. So once you write this constraint to a table, a relation, automatically it will keep on be executing on each insertion. So when new dot salary, as I said, new and old are 2 keywords being used to refer to the one which you are right now inserting or updating, and the old refers to the existing one in the database, the table. Greater than select salary from EMP where SSN equal to new dot super SSN, inform supervisor new dot super SSN comma new dot SSN. So I am going to pass 3 comma 4 to some function has been called. So event, insert or update is an event been taken place, some condition is evaluated, this is the condition till here, then action has been taken. So this is how you write your triggers. So you can use the same syntax to write any kind of triggers for any conditions. Okay. So previously we took an example of salaries of managers and employees, that can also be written as a triggers. Or else say for example, if I will verify, if I am inserting a new row to an employee table, and if there is an attribute called as experience, say for example some 10 years of experience, and then I can write action as an update employee table, update the salary to 10%. So if an employee has experience more than 10%, give him a salary of 10% increment, or a some 7th pay scale, something like that. You can perform the update operation in the action also. So some event, that is after insert on employee table, for each row what is the condition? Whether the experience is greater than 10 years. If yes, then what ought? Write a action, that is update employee where salary is salary into 0.1. So this way you can update the salary to 10%. Likewise, you can take any condition and you can perform using a triggers. So triggers are mainly combinations of event through your before or after, insert, delete or update, that is the event. Then the condition, you need to evaluate a condition that will be user defined, that is you people have to define what is the condition. Based on that condition, what action you are expecting, just displaying a message, calling another PLSQL code, or calling a stored procedure or a function, it is all about in the action. So this is how you write your triggers. So triggers are must while you are designing a mini project. There should be one such triggers in your backend which will be evaluating every time when you manipulate the state of your relational database. Okay, so this is all for today's video class. Thank you all.